What's going on, y'all? It's Jason Reviews here, back at it again with another video. As promised to you guys, like I said, GTX predictions today, Friday, ahead of the event. Also, as promised last video, different background. As you can see, I'm going to have a different background for a minute until I settle on one. So here's the background number 2, shooting from the living room. Carpets gotta go get clean, things of that nature in the background. But there is a lot of battles here, so it's going to be a little bit lightning round, not going to lie to you, especially some of these, like, I mean, we all know how many battles are on this GTX card, so especially the battles that are on, like, the bottom half. Definitely going to have to kind of like fly through some of them, but as we get towards the top of the card I do want to do a little bit more breakdown analysis on at least 4 to 5 of the matchups here that like I really like. But without further ado, let's get right into the predictions. So starting from the bottom of the card, everybody knows versus Pedro. I do not know about Pedro. I'm not too familiar with his footage. I actually know of everybody knows from the GrindTime days, super GrindTime style. We'll see how that translates exactly, just off of knowing him though, and knowing how it could probably translate that room. Going with everybody knows winning. Fredo and Unan legend over there in the UK, was up there kicking it up and don't flop at its best. But I gotta go with Fredo in this one, having GrindTime experience, extensive GrindTime experience, extensive King of the Dot, especially early King of the Dot experience. Style's kind of built for this realm. So I have him winning that battle 2-1. Fawet Dev versus Reverse Live. Dev can get some haymakers at his peaks, but chokes all the time. Air balls, just doesn't really put it together to be a good battler. Reverse Live is just simply more complete, better, and we'll win this battle probably 3-0. Ellipsis versus Nestle, a clever one here for those that are fans and understand. It goes a little under the radar, but a good little pen matchup. Ellipsis is like a super intricate, pen. That's how he gets down to it. Nestle, a little bit more laid back, pure MC style to it. Personally, I prefer that. I can see Ellipsis transferring better in that room, but I'm going to go with Nestle 2-1 for what I know I'm going to kind of like here, and very good at compacting things in like 90-second rounds. Don't think that'll be an issue for him. Frank Stacks versus Ryan Fia 4, one of the Bizarro battles that's definitely here. I think Diz had a tweet. It was like 4 battles with viral potential. If we're talking about viral potential, that lets you know where we're going, what street we're heading down. Not familiar with Frank Stacks, Ryan Via 4. Some rap a little. It's a little, quirky, but I don't know, not the worst in the world. Gonna go with him, I guess, since I know of him, seen him. Active versus Crick Mac, the second installment of the Bizarro series. I don't know what the hell is gonna happen here. I don't even know if this is really gonna complete out to like a full battle. So for that, I got my dog fucking with the table down here, my apologies. So got Active, I think, winning that. Caustic versus Coleslaw. Clearly the gimmick of like a white woman rapping and like the shock value that'll have. And this is kind of set up for Caustic to just offensively just like absolutely put her in the dirt, just make a whole like just say dastardly things about this woman. So Caustic's probably going to win in that room, you know what I'm saying? And then ATM versus O Solo, the last installment, and maybe the most Bizarro of the Bizarro series. What more do I have to say? I personally got O Solo though, because why not? And then from there is the main card. So as you keep going, first want to bring up is Marv 1 versus Lunar C. Lunar C, who most of you guys don't know, another UK talent, and hasn't battled in a long time, and like kind of a million view machine over there. I'm familiar with like a few O'Shea, some of like the bigger battles that he's had. Uno Lavos, I know, which is like Uno Lavos was a circuit of views, on GrindTime and Don't Flop, but regardless, Lunar C returning to battle Marv. Obviously, we're all familiar with Marv 1 and what he does, especially what he's done kind of on the local circuits is underrated. Constantly even beating some name talent on there, but really like destroying lower name talent. I do think Lunar C can translate well to this room, but similar to the way Marv handled Satire, he is pro's pro. I think that Lunar, there is an outside chance of him winning because he is like a huge comedy type of guy, all around battler, and gets a lot of love, like considered a legend at Don't Flop, right? So that the whole thing of like legends returning is there is going to be some nostalgia. The people in these rooms are going to appreciate a talent like him, but I think Marv is just a little more polished, adapted to today's game. Have him pretty clearly winning that battle. Carter Deems versus Dirtbag Dan. Semi-Bizarro, you know what I'm saying? Carter Deems, for those that have watched him, know that man raps about cats and things like that, you know what I'm saying? So that's something. And then Dirtbag Dan, pure comedy style for the most part. Actually, gonna go with Carter Deems 2-1, you know what I'm saying? I think he's gonna translate a little funnier in that room. But Dirtbag does have a little bit more of like a complete style, a little bit more like a full awareness, while Carter Deems is more of like, I don't want to just say like but it is kind of like a gimmick. You know what I'm saying? If you are able to find a way to diffuse it, even though he's some good raps in there, but if you are able to find a way to diffuse that like front layer and turn the joke on him, can't really do much with that. So Dirtbag has a chance, but I'm going with Carter. QP versus Solcon, Quantum Physics. Rematch from the, you know what I'm saying, iconic battle back in the day. And now that we get to, you know, nowadays, I do think that QP is going to clean up Solcon this time around. I do, you know, appreciation for Solcon, you know what I'm saying, I think I've watched some of his interviews too, and he's definitely like a deep thought type of guy. Talking about his history through hip hop and stuff takes a long time to get to the point, but just one of those kind of like long-winded type of guys, and I think that's kind of how it comes out in his style nowadays. Appreciate the legend, but it's like you can kind of see on all fronts the change, and like the change away from battle rap, and I don't know if he's going to adapt back compared to QP, who not really a fan of QP, any of his antics, don't think he's really that good as a battle rapper. They talk about he's one of the best pens, very creative, but if you can't really win battles or make a career worth value, how great are you, right? But with all that being said, this is one of those, I think we'll probably have some personal attachment to him, right? You know, due to the rematch how it went the first time around, and I just think that he writes, you know, way better for nowadays battle rap, is probably going to put Solcon in the dirt. Shout out Solcon though. And then you get to B Magic and Lil Pesci. B Magic is going to Lil Pesci's ass. Love what B Magic's been doing lately. Really think he's been battling upwards. The best we've really seen Magic in years. I've never been the biggest Lil Pesci fan. Even when he was a regular rotational piece at the King of the Dot roster at a prominent time. Just by the way he kind of went out with the Daylight incident. For those that don't know, look up Lil Pesci versus Daylight, because that's just aggressive piece of battle rap history. I don't even know how to put it. But B Magic is going to beat Lil Pesci pretty badly, in my opinion. And then as you get to the top of the battles, the one last one I want to talk about quick before I do like deep analysis is the 2v2, Clips and DNA versus Dumbfounded and Satire. I think Clips and DNA are going to win. Just think they're more complete, have the chemistry. Dumbfounded and Satire will have some jokes, but I don't know if that's going to fully hit compared to like two in prime or legendary battle rappers of that status that are still kind of in prime. And as I said, these like last 5 matchups I'm personally like really like bought into, and first I want to talk about is A-Ward versus Frack. The first run of what looks like, you know, A-Ward's talking about he's got a lot of big battles coming up, busy schedules. So Frack is going to kick off, you know, a pretty crazy second half of the year for him, and it's like you want to set a good tone there, and I think that this is kind of funny enough the hardest stylistic matchup that A-Ward's got coming up. Particularly funny enough, A-Ward versus white guys, but he has not done great against them. And I think that what it really comes down to is that when you do get battles like this, like a Frack and a Ward, as opposed to like a Ward and a Nitty and stuff like that, where you can angle away, he's kind of, there's an image that he's playing to, kind of like the, you know what I'm saying, like all the URL rappers versus the alienated guy that is nice, that off URL, right? He's always had these factors playing at him when he goes up against other stars that could be URL or RBE based, but when you get here, it just seems that like the angles, like especially the Christianity angles, tend to get worked better by those like the Ilmax, by those of like the big Ks. And then in translation here, you got a guy with Frack who is really just a mixed bag. I don't really know how dangerous Frack is until we keep seeing him in matchups such as like an A-Ward battle, and that's what makes this so interesting, is Frack could be really one of the best talents on the West Coast, and really an elite battle rap talent across the board. A Sharon 2.0 with much more fluid rapping, much more direct angling, not just like the crazy setups. There's not really much of a gimmick to it, besides the fact that he kind of looks the part, right, of maybe like the nerdier guy coming into rap, but he raps at an extremely high level, you know what I'm saying? And I think that Ward is very aware of how hard the matchup is. I think you are going to get a good Ward, but even with a great Ward, 90-second rounds, I think is very favorable to something Frack can do. Condense something, turn a funny angle into like a 60, 70-second bit. I think Ward's great, and I think the rebuttal factor can make a difference, which has always made big differences in like those GrindTime-esque short time battles, is that a haymaker rebuttal already gives you advantage in like 3-minute rounds. Now imagine that, but with half the time. So there is that lane for him, but I do think that Frack is going to really translate and take that room, and I do have Frack taking this battle 2-1 in one of the best battles on the card. Switching right over to Big K versus T-Rex. I call this one a little bit more lopsided. I do think the 90-second rounds does help Rex a lot. I do think that helps him condense his material really focus up when he does hit his rhyme pockets. They're going to be emphasized more, even if the content doesn't follow. But the problem for me is that Big K is equally as good in these time frames, and his content, punch for punch, creativity, dropping haymaker level material, there's just a higher chance of that happening. The run that he's been on, I think he's starting to realize what the path to a possible Cody could look like, as are a few battlers that we're going to talk about on the next few cards, right, that we're predicting, even on this one. But with that, I just think that there's going to be motivation. I think these legend matchups tend to be really good for K to like break down, use famous angles, but make them really funny and digestible for the crowd, which is what he's going to do with a litany of stuff to pick from with T-Rex. So I think T-Rex is going to be really good, but I think Big K has just been in prime form, and I think I'd be silly to bet against him. So I do have Big K winning this battle 2-1, maybe 3-0. That leaves us with the last three. One of them, Reed Dollars versus Pass. I just like. I love the rhyme pockets. Hard for me to predict because Pass is one of those where a lot of battles I do predict against him. I just think he struggles sometimes, that people are kind of punching a little bit more content-wise, getting to the point a bit quicker. I think Pass can, while he's an amazing rapper, sometimes it can get a little indirect. Sometimes it feels a little bit filler-esque. I don't say that about everyone, you know what I'm saying? I know that could be a common critique of multis, but I think with Pass particularly, that's kind of been an on and off thing. But with that being said, Pass has beaten tons of guys. He's a legend, beating the likes of a JC, beating the likes of an Ill Will, made it to the end of the King of the Dot tournament. So whether I think that, in recent times, I did have him losing to Magic, I did have him losing to Verb, I think he can get caught. I expect him to be in prime form for a card like this. Love what Reed could do in 90 seconds. Hard for me to predict, but I am going to be going with Pass 2-1. Just think on top of that, kind of having this home factor, the way he's going to get received is much better. Don't think that means Reed isn't going to be received well, but I think there's almost like a home little bit of advantage, more comfortability, and I think that Reed can be on and off with exactly how much. While the rhyme pockets are there, he suffers from that same kind of thing I critique Pass for, and maybe a little bit more extreme. So for that, got to go with Pass. And then you get to the two big main events, right? First one I want to talk about is Hollow Dodon versus Thesaurus. Great to see Thesaurus active the way that he has been. I know that he said he's got other big battles coming up after this year. He already, I cannot remember who he battled at the beginning of the year. Forgive me for that. I know that he battled Holmesy recently, the good one-rounder. Although I thought Holmesy kind of clearly won 1-0. That speaks more to how great Holmesy was. Thought Thesaurus was really good in that battle. And now you have versus Hollow, which he's taking very serious. I know the Hollow, not only is he respected amongst the fans as like a GOAT candidate, but respected really amongst his peers in that way. And I think that Thesaurus is going to try to bring one of his best versions, 90 seconds grind time. This is his backyard. This is what he made his legendary career off of. Even if you think he's past his prime, this is his most favorable situation. But it's also favorable for Hollow Dodon, a guy who made his name around the same times, maybe not as far back, but around the same times, then went on, and Hollow is just great on every platform. And I think he comes here and he's more comfortable than people realize, or I wouldn't even say people realize, just it feels like every league Hollow Dodon's had a great performance on of some sort. And for that, kind of like the way he handled Sharon on King of the Dot, I think he's going to handle Thesaurus here. And I think I got Hollow with a clear 2-1, possibly a great battle. Sneaky that you get a nostalgia of the Thesaurus. I know you're going to get a good Hollow, and they're both perceived crazy. You get maybe a Battle of the Night contender. Personally, I got Battle of the Night as Reed versus Pass, or A-Ward versus Frack. A-Ward versus Frack if I had to guess between the two. But that is how I feel about that. And then the final battle, Disaster versus Easy the Block Captain. 90-second rounds, action-packed, you know what I'm saying? We got to see how Easy's going to translate here. Obviously, he's done tournament style before, you know what I'm saying, shorter, like real-timed rounds, but it's about how he's going to be received by this crowd. I think he might have to change the content up a little. I don't think he can run Diz down like he's ran down some other opponents, but character assassination always works. If he can condense that to 90-second rounds, which I think is possible, I think the peak of Easy is just hard to bet against. Disaster has a lot to work with the angles out on Easy, if that's the route that he's fully going to take. This is Disaster in a grind time like setting, right? So this is as comfortable as he's going to get. If you're going to bet on Disaster in a matchup like this, similar to the Source one, this is the one. But for me, Easy's just been rapping too good. I did just watch Diz lose to guys like Next, you know what I'm saying, who's decent, but this is Easy. So for that, I'm going with Easy the Block Captain 2-1. And that is by full predictions, you know what I'm saying, for the GTX card. Not doing the Day Zero card, just because I really wouldn't know a lot of the names on there. I don't think it'd be really fair to do, but pretty much covered everything here on the main flyer, even what was added on below. Love that adding the expansion of UK talents, I think, was a good move by Diz. Brings in more eyes and does fit that grind time like setting. I think a lot of the UK don't flop stuff seems like, in my opinion, heavily inspired by some of that early King of the Dot grind time esque battle rap. And even though that league was around then, so I guess it's not really inspired, but there's similarities is the better way to put it in terms of how the crowd receives material, what type of material is wrapped, and yeah, it's gonna be crazy overall. I know a lot of eyes for most people, those that aren't always in tune with like the GTXs, the KOTDs, the easy and disasters pops off the page, right? And I think there's craziness there. Like I said, if there's any situation I think Diz can win, it is this one. Not mad at anybody picking Diz, but for those that, he's these guys that Easy's done, legends, particularly legends that are past prime. I don't think that's most of the guys he's battled. I hate that narrative. He's beaten Shine, Calico, you know what I'm saying, T-Top. It's ridiculous. But when he does get a matchup like this, where it's a legend that is a little bit past prime, a lot of character kind of stuff to break down over the years of angles, I just think that particularly helps Easy. But even outside of that, like I said, Big KT Rex, A-Ward versus Frack, Reed Dallas versus Pass, particular performances like B Magic, Marv 1, Hollow versus Thesaurus. Very, very good card by GTX. Some people have his card of the summer. At this point, everyone's picking a card of the summer. We're just going to have to see the results and then compare it at the end. And hopefully we have a lot of great results from all leagues. And we just have a great late summer and second half of 2023. But it's been J Small Reviews again, y'all. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know down below what is your favorite battle you're looking forward to on this GTX card. I'm gonna catch you on the next one, man. Peace.